friends, welcome to Daily Sourdough. Today we are making sourdough focaccia, which is so much fun because it is a simple bread and it's so versatile and delicious. So let's get started. We use 3/4 cup roughly of an active sourdough starter. So feed it roughly 8 hours beforehand so that it's nice and bubbly, full of good life. That's kind of a rough measurement. To that, add 1.5 cups of tepid water, so just on the slightly warm side, and stir that until it's dissolved. And while you're letting your starter dissolve in the water, add 2 tablespoons of olive oil. And the olive oil is gonna make your dough softer, so it's a nice touch, a little bit different than your basic sourdough bread. Just makes a more tender crumb. So continue to stir until it's dissolved. Then to that, add about 1.5 teaspoons of salt. And this is just a pink Himalayan sea salt. But any sea salt's great because it has extra minerals in it. So you want a sea salt. Then stir that in. And then add 4 cups of flour. And I'm just using white all-purpose flour today, but you can use mix and match flours. You can do half whole wheat if you want, or you can use bread flour, but this is 4 cups. And now just stir that in until it's all combined. Now that it's mostly combined, it's just kind of a shaggy mess, I'm going to use my hand to finish the job, because the warmth of my hand really helps to activate those good bacteria, livens up the yeast, just really helps to get everything moving and growing. Now that this is mixed together, let this rest on your counter for 30 minutes, and then we'll come back and do a series of stretch and folds. My focaccia dough has been resting on the counter for about 45 minutes because I went and did some other things. And isn't it wonderful how forgiving sourdough is? You don't have to be exact. So I said 30 minutes, let it rest on the counter, but it doesn't matter that much. And I really am happy with it because it's really spongy dough already. So my starter is very active and it's already reacting to the gluten in the dough. Very excited about that. We'll do 1 round of stretch and fold. So just reach under the dough and gently lift up half of it and fold it over itself, and then turn it, lift it up, fold it over itself, and do 1 full round of stretch and folds. Now, oil a separate bowl really generously with olive oil, because your dough is going to rest in this second bowl overnight. Or if you're making this in the morning, let it rest roughly 8 to 12 hours. So transfer your dough to this bowl and flip it over so that it's oiled on both sides. Now cover this and let it rest on your counter, and we will see you tomorrow when we'll finish our beautiful focaccia. Well friends, it's day 2 and the focaccia dough has been resting on the counter overnight. Now it's time to move it from this bowl to the pan. And as you can see, it's spread out in this big pan, in this big bowl, which is exactly what I wanted it to do. gives it a little head start in filling the pan rather than putting it in a bowl with tall sides. Generously oil your pan with olive oil, and you can use a cast iron pan if you want. I'm just using a baking sheet today. And then with your hand or a brush, spread that oil out. And this oil is going to give it a really nice crispy crust on the bottom, which is what I like. So be generous with that. It's roughly 2 tablespoons, I'm guessing. Then to transfer your dough, gently reach under the center of the dough so that when you lift it, it folds in half. And then just lay it on your pan. And we want to be really gentle with the dough because, as you can see, there's lots of nice bubbles. And we are now going to do a tri-fold to try to trap those bubbles in the dough. So we're going to just gently stretch it out and then fold it in thirds. And now it's oiled all around on all sides, and just lay your dough on your baking pan, and it's going to rest here for between 4 and 6 hours. What you want it to do is just relax and fill up the pan. So depending on how warm your kitchen is, it could take less time, it could take more time. Just watch it, and when it's filled the pan, then you know it's ready to bake. So we'll see you in a few hours. About halfway through the second rise, I decided to switch pans. So I transferred my dough to this pan instead because I decided I wanted a pan with taller sides so that my dough would rise higher so I can slice it and make sandwiches. So that's why I switched it over, depending on what you want. If you want a thinner focaccia just for dipping in oil, then you don't need such tall sides, but I'm gonna make sandwiches. So I switched pans. But now it's been rising for roughly 5 hours and it's time to bake. So lightly drizzle a little more olive oil over the top just to give it a nice little film. And then using your fingers, all 10 fingers, just press your fingertips into the dough, and you're spreading the dough gently to touch all sides without popping your bubbles. And this gives it that unique look where you have these pock marks in your dough. And I'm just making just basic focaccia. I'm not putting any seasonings on it, except for I'm going to use a large granulated salt. So I'm just going to lightly sprinkle the salt over the top. And this is just a kosher salt. And now put it in the oven at 425 degrees for 25 to 30 minutes. So friends, here it is, delicious focaccia bread. So fun in sandwiches and especially good when dipped in your favorite olive oil. So give this recipe a try, and really fun, really yummy. And be sure to stay tuned to Daily Sourdough, and remember to subscribe because I have more recipes coming up teaching you how to use your sourdough starter on a daily basis.